your babies grow up to be cowboys. We'll come ahead second ride. Sometimes I think I get out on the plane.
You're listening to Rodeo, the next generation, with your host, Katy Lucas.
Hey, all you rodeo fans and competitors alike. My name is Katy Lucas, and for this show today, I'm joined with a young rodeo competitor from right here at Lethbridge College. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell me what you're studying here at the college?
My name's Lane Palichuk. I'm studying civil engineering technologies.
And how's that going for you right now, Lane?
It's pretty busy. I don't have a lot of spare time on my hands, that's for sure. Like to do more stuff like with rodeo, but it's pretty tough while I'm in school. So
tell me about civil engineering. What does that entail?
Like a lot of like construction, highways, roads, bridges, that kind of stuff. So
okay, and what do you want to do after with your diploma?
I actually tend to go on to university and get my full degree. So
okay, where are you going for that?
That haven't completely decided yet. Hopefully somewhere in the States.
All right. Did you want to get a rodeo scholarship to go down in the States?
I've thought about it, but I'm not sure on that either because it's so busy and so tough that might just interfere more than help the cause. So
it is a pretty extensive program then. A lot of math involved with that?
Yes, definitely. A lot of math every day. So.
All right. Well, thanks, Lane, for joining me today. We're going to ask you a few more questions about your life in the rodeo world. But first, let's hear a couple songs that defined the world of rodeo back in the day.
Rodeo, the next generation, will continue after this.
Well, he walks out in the arena, all dressed up to the brim. Said he just came down from a place called Highland Rim. Well, he said he came to ride the flowers and sun. Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys. 'Cause they never stay home and they're always alone, even with someone they love. Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be
This is Katy Lucas with Rodeo, the next generation. On CRLC, the Kodiak, I'm joined today by Lane Palichuk. Lane, let's talk about growing up in the world of rodeo. Did your parents rodeo?
They did not, actually.
No? So how did you get your start in rodeo then?
Probably started in 4-H because just like always around horses, and then there was a couple other guys that were like roping at the time and just kind of started then playing around with the rope and went from there. So.
Right. So did you have a lot of support when you first decided that you wanted to start rodeoing?
Not really, no.
No? Your family didn't like that so much?
No, definitely not, so.
No? Why was that?
Just never really heard very, like, successful careers come out of it, right, that anybody that they knew, I guess, so, like, they found a tough way to make a living and probably wasn't the best choice if you wanted to have a family and do all that other stuff, so.
Right. And what about now? You've had a lot of success in rodeo, especially team roping. Is your family behind you now?
My mom definitely 100%. Dad is still kind of...
Still on the fence about it?
But I guess he pays the bills and allows me to do what I do, so...
Right.
He's the one affected by it more than me, so...
Right. So how does having someone to support you, whether it's your family, your friends, how does that help you in rodeo?
It makes a huge difference, just knowing that you have support behind you, like before you compete, just even something as simple as a good luck text just makes you want to do that much better, so.
Right, I know definitely in my case, I've been rodeoing my entire life, and you know, it was never a question in my family if we were going to rodeo or if we wouldn't. We just knew that that's what our life was about, so I can't imagine having to step away from everything that your family did and decide to rodeo. So what was it that made you make the decision to rodeo?
I've always been around horses, always rode horses, and like just started roping, and I guess it's pretty addictive sport, so just strive to be best you can be, so.
Right. So where did you get your start? What kind of rodeos did you start going to at first?
Border country rodeos, which are just a local circuit around my house. Like, they're all within 2 hours, so those are nice little deals to get started at for sure. So.
Right. Now, in my case, it was a lot of years for me before I ever won a rodeo or ever even placed at a rodeo. Was it the same for you?
It was not, actually. I think it took, my first year, I didn't win anything, but the second year I won quite frequently, so I was pretty lucky that way.
Right, so you were pretty much hooked after that.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. All right, well, we've got a few more questions for you, Lane, but we'll be back in a few minutes after a few more great rodeo songs.
You're listening to Katy Lucas for this edition of Rodeo, the Next Generation on CRLC The Kodiak.
I was 6 years old, my brother was 10, when July Day came a-running in. Cowboys like us.
Katy Lucas back on CRLC The Kodiak with Rodeo, the Next Generation. I've got team roper Lane Palichuk, a college student, in studio with me right now. Lane, we're going to talk right now about what inspires us in rodeo. Your parents didn't rodeo. My dad always did. So I always looked up to him for inspiration, whether, we were at a pro rodeo and just watching him in the arena compete, or whether he's in the roping box with me. I always look up to him, and I always call on him for advice. But when your parents weren't in rodeo, who did you look up to?
Well, there was a guy named DJ Woodward who worked with my dad, so they were really close friends. And we made a deal that I would go paint fence for him during the day while he worked, and then when he got home, we would rope until it got dark. So I learned pretty much everything I know, and got a good start and all the basics and fundamentals down from him. So, and then anytime I was struggling with something, I would just give him a call and he would help me figure out what to do and make myself better that way. So.
Right. Did he come to some rodeos with you too?
He did not, but at the ropings that we were both at, he always came up to me and told me maybe try this and you'll do better, or just little critiques. And
right. What kind of difference does that make for you when you have that backing, someone that you know is there to help you?
It makes you feel confident, for sure, just knowing that someone's behind you and willing to put in the effort and time to make you become better. So. Right.
So he's been a real role model for you in rodeo then?
Yes, for sure.
Right. So what would you say, just for any role model really in rodeo, what are some good traits that some of them have?
Patient. Easy to approach and talk to. Will always put the time in, no matter how busy they may be, or if they're mad or whatever, having a bad day. So.
Right. Now, a lot of people look up to people like Trevor Brazil and the Coopers and those big name stars. How come you don't?
I think it's unrealistic because you don't know them on a personal basis. So, in order to look up to them, I think you need to be able to talk to them and converse with them about your sport, right, and what makes you become better and what you have to do to get to that next level.
Right. Now, obviously, DJ has taught you quite well. You placed in the Jim Newton benefit roping just this last weekend. You're a National High School Finals Rodeo qualifier. You're the Alberta High School Rodeo Reserve Champion header in 2012, and the list goes on from Border Country Rodeos to Canadian Team Roping Association Rodeos. What did you do to get yourself to that level when you were working with DJ?
Hard work, dedication, for sure. Just put your heart and soul into it, and everything comes out of your practice. So.
Right. A lot of fence painting, too?
Yes, for sure.
Right. Now, what do you do mentally? We talk about how, those big-time rodeo competitors, there's a lot of pressure, and even at this level, there's a lot of pressure. What do you do to mentally and physically prepare yourself for every rodeo?
Mentally, I like to isolate myself, be alone, and just get my mind into it before I actually physically start preparing myself. because like in team roping, like your horse is your most important thing. So without your horse, you have nothing. So just make sure you warm your horse up really good. Make sure he's ready way before you are, and just keep a positive mind state.
Right. Now, in team roping, when you're relying on your partner, what are some of the things that can throw you off? Maybe when a partner has a different preparation game. I know I've had that before when you're at a team roping jackpot and you're ready to back in the box and your partner is nowhere to be found, or you draw up with a partner that you know is just not mentally there and not mentally in the game. How does that weigh on your mind?
I actually try not to worry about it so much because I am quite different than most other people, because they would rather not think about it and just kind of do it and let it happen. But I like to be well prepared, watch everything, just be aware of my surroundings and what everybody else is doing. So.
Right. What about things like watching the score and making sure that you're watching the steers before your run? What are things like that you do to prepare?
I really like to watch the score for sure. Steers I don't worry about too much, because if you score good, your steer will be pretty good as well. So I just like to use the score to your advantage. So, and I actually score different than most other people, so I have to make sure that I go and do it myself and study, make notes even. So.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Lane. We'll be back in just another minute.
Rodeo, the next generation, will continue after this.
Welcome back to Rodeo, the next generation on CRLC The Kodiak. This is Katy Lucas, and I've got Lane Palichuk in studio with me today. Now, rodeo gives you and I a lot of opportunity, but it's a sport that requires a lot of time and a lot of focus. What sort of things have you had to sacrifice because of rodeo?
Lots. I used to play a lot of sports, soccer, volleyball, badminton. I had to give up soccer first because it's indoor and outdoor, and I could only ever play indoor because I was gone all summer rodeoing and putting my heart and soul into that. I managed to keep playing volleyball and badminton all the way through high school, and then in grade 12 I decided to give up volleyball so I could high school rodeo, because I was told that it was a lot of fun, and so I did that, and I took a stab at the high school rodeo career, and it actually turned out quite successful, so I'm definitely happy I did that now.
I'm the exact same way. I was a dancer for 6 years and really loved dance, but to me it got to the point where that one night a week when I had to leave the arena to go to dance class, it was too much for me. So for you, with all that sacrifice, how important is it to have a good job when it comes to paying so you can keep doing rodeo?
For sure, it's definitely important. I've been really lucky because my parents have just kind of provided for me, and I've just been able to focus on doing what I do and working hard at making sure that I'm well prepared for every competition. So. Right,
but now that you're into schooling, is that a part of the plan so you can get that good job and make sure that you can afford to rodeo after?
For sure, definitely. I have actually pretty much put my roping on hold while I've been off to school. I think I've only roped, 6 or 7 times since I've started, and so it's definitely hard, but it's just something you have to do in order to be able to do it in the road down the future. So. Right.
Now, rodeo is one of those things where you're either on top of the world or you're in the crying hole or just crying. And talk about the ups and downs you experience when you're competing.
It changes really fast. Things can go from bad to worse in a hurry, and your good times can just keep on rolling. Like, I've definitely had weeks where just nothing can go wrong. Just I can even miss a few steers and still end up winning a lot of money, and other weekends you can rope really good and it still doesn't go your way. So it's just I guess every sport's like that, where you gotta go through slumps and be able to overcome just based on your mental game and prepare lots when you're not practicing. Someone else is. So.
Right. So with that, how do you mentally bring yourself back up? If you've been losing for weeks and weeks, or just having a really bad day and need to turn it around, what sort of things do you do?
I like to pick out the positives, even when stuff doesn't go right, because there always is something. Even though you might miss a steer, you might have scored them really good. Another thing I like to do is just watch roping videos. Just watch good run after good run. Makes you put that in your head and makes you want to do that. So.
Right. How does the ups and downs keep you humble in rodeo?
It does a pretty good job of that, that's for sure. It never lets you get too high, because the moment you do, you're on a losing streak for sure. So, I don't know. It seems to take care of itself, I feel. So.
All right. So, now, talking about sacrifices, you couldn't do the sports that you love to do anymore, and we spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars every weekend, sometimes thousands, at a big jackpot. Why do you think people do it? I
don't know. Love of the game, I guess. I don't know. It's so fast, so it's loads of adrenaline, and I don't know, just addictive sport, I guess.
Now, saying it's a time sport, we always say in rodeo that you're not competing against other people, you're competing against the clock. How do you think that helps sportsmanship in rodeo when it's your fault if you lose and only you can win?
I think it helps a lot, because I noticed for sure in team roping that everyone's friends. You don't really have very many enemies. So, you all just kind of work together, support each other, help each other out, make sure everybody has the best chance to win as possible. So. Right.
In my experience, I feel like rodeo is pretty unique in that way, where you might lend your horse to the toughest competition or your toughest competition. And I know I've done it many times, and I've never really had a barrel horse or anything growing up, and people that were right next to me in the standings were lending me their good horses just to use. Do you think rodeo's unique in that way?
Yes, for sure. You don't see that in too many other sports, like competition, working side by side to both have the greatest success they can. So.
All right. Well, Lane, I've got just a few more questions for you, but let's take a quick music break here on CRLC The Kodiak.
You're listening to Katy Lucas for this edition of Rodeo, The Next Generation on CRLC The Kodiak.
You were too bad for country.
It's just a country thing.
Well, thanks for joining us today for this edition of Rodeo, The Next Generation. I'm Katy Lucas, and I'm joined one last time by Lane Palichuk. Now, if you've been tuning in for this entire hour, you may have noticed a bit of an evolution of country music. We've gone from some songs by Marty Robbins all the way to some Colt Ford and even Jason Aldean with a little bit of Ludacris mixed in there. So, country music is clearly changing. Let's talk about how rodeo is changing with it.
It's definitely changed a lot, I think. It's definitely more of a money game now, and how you prepare yourself financially definitely has a big outcome on your success. So,
I know we see a lot of big rigs rolling down the road. Just my dad talking about when he was younger, they had stock racks in the back of the truck, and they had campers, and they had 2-horse inline horse trailers that would hurt your horse in 2 years, and now they've got these $1 million rigs rolling down the road. How do you think that has changed the world of rodeo?
Big time, actually, because now people just live in their trailers, and that's all they do is just go from rodeo to rodeo. So without that money and their big fancy rig, they wouldn't be able to do that. So
right. I think, too, it helps a lot of horses out when you have those trailers with air ride and that are a lot smoother. I know my dad, they had a horse that was finished in 1 year just because they had a bumpy 2-horse inline trailer that all of that, all those rough roads and all of those miles traveled just ruined his legs because of it. So I think that definitely helped. What about the horsepower now?
It's definitely better horses for sure. The breeding program and being able to clone horses now is definitely having a big impact on rodeo for sure. So,
And what about cloning horses? There's been a couple bucking horses that have been cloned, and Charmaine has cloned Scamper. What's your opinion on those?
I guess if you have the money to do it, why not, right? If your horse is that good, why not have one just like it? So. Right.
Do you think it'll actually end up just like the old ones, or do you think that's kind of a nature versus nurture thing where you would have to do everything exactly the same to make that same horse?
I believe, yeah, it definitely would have to have, if not all the same, but definitely the majority of the same training. So, in order to make that horse virtually the same. So. Right.
What about sponsorships in rodeo? They're actually fairly new. I know my dad always talks about when he was younger and back in his NFR days, back in the 80s, no one had a sponsor. You never saw anyone with logos on their shirts, and now we look like NASCAR half the time. There's people with 8, 10 sponsors on their shirts. How do you think that is changing the sport?
In a huge way, actually. Before, like you said, there was very few people that had them, if not none. And now, like, you can't make a successful pro rodeo career without them, pretty much. It just costs that much now to go, and you have to have them behind you in order to make it financially. So.
Right. And do you have a sponsor?
I do, yes. I have 2, actually. Tiswa's Horse Feeds and Viterra Seeds, actually, help me out.
Right. Yeah, so what would you do if you didn't have those sponsors? How much harder would it be?
It'd make it a lot tougher for sure. They buy all my ropes and take care of my feed for me, so without that it would be way harder for sure. So I'd like to thank them a lot.
Right. Now, how do you think rodeo can appeal to new fans and create new fans that maybe weren't fans before? How do you think we can get our numbers up?
Well, as the sport's growing, it's becoming more and more popular, and more stuff's televised, which always helps. People are able to watch it and take an interest in it without actually having to pay money. So that makes it definitely more likable for sure.
Right. What about animal welfare in rodeo? With rodeo being televised so much more and so much more in the public eye, animal welfare is something that's huge and something that rodeo as a whole really strives to look after. Do you think rodeo's doing a good job of that?
I do, yes. All the rodeo animals are definitely treated top notch and have all the respect that they need and stuff, just like you and I. So I definitely believe that they are getting the care they need for sure. So.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Lane, for joining me today. I'm going to wrap up the show just like any other rodeo with Roy Rogers and Happy Trails. See you, everyone.
Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Keep smiling.